today I'm here in San Mateo, California at the DotNetNuke World Headquarters. I have with me, fortunately, Joe Brinkman. Joe, would you like to talk a little bit about your involvement with DotNetNuke and your role here?
Sure. So I've been with DotNetNuke for about 8 years now, a little over 8 years, actually going on 9, since we originally formed the core team back in 2003. And we've been doing this pretty much solid nonstop ever since on the open source side. And then in 2006, myself, Scott Wilhite, Sean Walker, Nick Caliani, along with 2 of our employees, Charles Nurse and Bill Walker, formed DotNetNuke Corporation. And really we were looking at how do we continue to grow the community, drive revenues that allow us to go back and reinvest in the community offering, right? It's like once you get the open source to a certain size, you really need to be able to sort of feed the baby, if you will. And the way we chose to do that was by building a commercial company which could build and support the product, the community edition, as well as the ecosystem. You know, I can't tell you how many times people would come to us early on and say, "Oh, do you have any marketing materials? I need to go pitch, you know, DotNetNuke to some company, and we don't have any marketing materials." And it's like, well, we can do that. You know, we got to figure out how to pay for that. We got to figure out where we can get time and people and resources to apply to that. So that's where and why DotNetNuke Corp was formed.
So really, DotNetNuke Corp was formed to help build that community and provide the community those features they needed to become more successful and sell more of and see more implementations of DotNetNuke.
Exactly. You know, I'm happy to say that, you know, with the recent introduction of DotNetNuke 6 last month, we've got an upcoming maintenance release coming up here in the next couple of weeks, that once again we're on the high cycle. You know.
So you mentioned that you're on DotNetNuke 6 today. I know early on, back in the early days, a lot of hosters wouldn't support DotNetNuke because, quite frankly, it was a memory and resource hog. I know personally from our own use, you know, for our awesome.net brand, for example, we actually use DotNetNuke on there. I don't know if you knew that. But the resource usage is not where it was. I mean, the application has really grown and matured.
We've spent quite a bit of time, both internally and in working with Microsoft and working with some of our partners to help tune the application over time and to start driving that memory footprint down, resource utilization, improving performance overall across all the different metrics we measure. So it's definitely been something that we are starting to pay more and more attention to and trying to make that better.
So, Joe, for me, you know, DotNetNuke 6 really represents that increased performance because as a hoster, that's what we're concerned about. We want to make sure that we can get our customers on these boxes and you get a decent number of customers on a single machine where performance and scalability isn't going to be impacted. And so for DotNetNuke 6, I personally, it definitely feels faster to me. That's what I love most about DotNetNuke 6. I'm curious for you, what's your favorite feature in DotNetNuke 6?
So probably my favorite feature in DotNetNuke 6 would have to be the control panel. You know, for me, it's really indicative of where we're going with the UI, both now and in the future, and it really provides a much more modern feel to the platform. We spent a lot of time, a lot of different iterations on the control panel, trying to figure out how do we keep the users in context. As the users editing their page and editing their content, they often need to interact with the control panel for some task. And before it was a little bit clunky in previous versions because you always had to scroll all the way back up to the top of the page and then expand or collapse the control panel. And it was just a lot of unnecessary scrolling, unnecessary clicks. And I think the control panel really shows that in DotNetNuke 6, we spent a lot of time thinking about how do we make this easier, how do we make this faster, how do we reduce clicks, how do we reduce scrolling and movement in the application, how do we reduce postbacks. You saw that with our use of pop-ups in DotNetNuke 6. So there are a lot of different places where we said, you know, this could be much better for users. And if we reduce clicks, reduce scrolling, reduce postbacks, where we've got to repaint the whole page, the more we could do that, the better it was for the users.
Fantastic. Definitely usability is a big key. Right?
Right.
I mean, it's great to work and do this, but to really take that next level like you have with DotNetNuke 6, it takes that innovation.
Right.
And for that, you guys have the commercial editions, correct?
Right. So we use the commercial editions and the money that we make off the commercial editions to basically be able to pay for a lot of the staff that we have. For example, I talked about what we launched, DNN Corp. There were 6 of us, right? There were the four co-founders and 2 employees. And today, just our QA organization is larger than the company that we launched DotNetNuke 6 or launched DotNetNuke Corp with, right? So our QA organization for DNN6 was really able to go through and make a lot of the iterations, and really go through the application on a continual basis. As the engineers in the community were working on these various pieces, they were able to really drive the quality of the product, and it's definitely, by far, no question, the most solid release we've had in a long time.
Fantastic. So, Joe, I think we're pretty much ready to wrap up now. We've kind of run out of time. But I'd like to encourage you, if you've looked at DotNetNuke in the past and you haven't looked at it recently, to go ahead and give it a try. Today, Applied Innovations is running a promotion where you can spin up a new version of DotNetNuke 6 and try it firsthand, and I encourage you to give that a try. We'll post the URL when we post this video. When you try this new version of DotNetNuke 6, it also gives you a little bit of time to try some of the professional features and the paid features in the premium offerings. That's a great opportunity to look at that and see if maybe you want to step it up to that next level.
Right.
And not just stick with an open source application, but actually move to a commercially supported open source application.
Right.
And that's unique with DotNetNuke. Joe, I really appreciate you taking the time today to meet with me.
Well, thank you, Jess, for coming into our offices, and it was great to have you.
Fantastic. Thanks.